This month in disability rights history for May 2025. Birth of Tanny Gray Thompson, May 26, 1945. Tanny Gray Thompson became one of the most decorated Paralympians in history, winning 16 Paralympic medals for the United Kingdom. Beyond her athletic achievements, she emerged as a powerful advocate for accessibility, public transportation rights, and political representation for disabled people. Her leadership demonstrated how disabled voices can reshape public policy, not just in sports, but across all sectors of society. Brown v. Board of Education decision, May 17, 1954. On May 17, 1954, the United States Supreme Court issued its landmark ruling in Brown v. Board of Education, declaring that separate but equal education systems were unconstitutional. While this decision was primarily focused on racial segregation, it set a vital legal precedent that would later be applied to disability rights cases. Advocates for students with intellectual disabilities would use Brown's principles to argue that exclusion from public education based on disability was similarly discriminatory and unconstitutional. Willowbrook Consent Decree, May 5, 1975. Public awareness of the horrific conditions in institutions reached a boiling point in the early 1970s, notoriously in the case of New York's Willowbrook State School. Years of exposés, including a 1972 televised investigation by Geraldo Rivera, had revealed overcrowding, abuse, and neglect of residents with developmental disabilities. A class action lawsuit against the state ensued, and on May 5, 1975, New York Governor Hugh Carey signed the Willowbrook Consent Decree, settling the case and committing the state to reform. This court-approved decree mandated that Willowbrook's thousands of residents be given better care and that many be moved out into smaller community homes. The Willowbrook settlement became a catalyst for deinstitutionalization efforts across the U.S., and Willowbrook itself finally closed in 1987. Americans with Disabilities Act passes the House, May 22, 1990. In the late 20th century, disability rights advanced with the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, in the United States, the first broad civil rights law prohibiting discrimination against people with disabilities. On May 22, 1990, the U.S. House of Representatives overwhelmingly passed the ADA bill, following earlier Senate approval. The ADA was finally signed into law by President George H.W. Bush in July of 1990. The ADA's enactment was a watershed moment. It guaranteed equal rights and accessibility in employment, government services, public accommodations, and telecommunications. For people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, the ADA has meant greater inclusion in the workforce and the community, protection from discrimination due to cognitive disabilities, and increased public awareness of necessary accommodations. The ADA has also inspired other countries to craft similar anti-discrimination laws, underscoring this event's global impact on disability rights policy. UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, May 3, 2008. On May 3, 2008, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the CRPD, officially entered into force, a landmark treaty that enshrines the rights of persons with disabilities. The CRPD had been adopted by the UN General Assembly in late 2006 and rapidly gained signatories around the world. By reaching the required 20 ratifications in early 2008, the treaty became legally binding in those countries as of May 3rd. The CRPD is the first global agreement to comprehensively affirm the human rights of people with disabilities, outlining rights to equality, accessibility, education, employment, independent living, and freedom from abuse, and it obligates governments to eliminate discrimination and uphold dignity and autonomy for persons with disabilities. The CRPD has since been ratified by the majority of UN member states, harmonizing laws and inspiring reforms worldwide to align with its standards. Publication of DSM-5, May 18, 2013. On May 18, 2013, the American Psychiatric Association released the DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, which fundamentally changed how autism was diagnosed. By consolidating several previous diagnoses into the broader category of autism spectrum disorder, the DSM-5 aimed to create greater diagnostic clarity. However, it also sparked significant conversations within the autism community about identity, belonging, and the impact of erasing distinctions like Asperger's syndrome. The release continues to influence how autism is understood, treated, and discussed in research and society today.